The private wing of Balmoral was supposed to be the safest place in the royal world. No press, no visitors, no outsiders. But one quiet discovery shattered that illusion in seconds when Catherine noticed something that should never have been there. A hidden camera placed inside a protected royal corridor. From that moment, the monarchy was no longer facing mere embarrassment. It was facing a massive crisis of trust. This shocking breach has sent shockwaves through the royal family, raising urgent questions about security, betrayal, and who is truly safe behind palace walls. It matters right now because it exposes a deep vulnerability at the very heart of the royal estate, showing that even the most secure family sanctuaries can be compromised from within. Let's dive into how this chilling discovery unfolded and the internal warfare it has triggered. Catherine had entered that corridor after a quiet family meeting, expecting the old comfort of royal silence. Balmoral's private wing, the closed family area of the Scottish royal residence where senior royals stay away from public duty, had always carried one promise: what happened there stayed inside those walls. This mattered deeply because this was not a public palace room or a press-facing chamber built for performance. It was where tired voices softened, where guarded people lowered their defenses, and where the family could stop acting like an institution and simply breathe. Then she saw it. A tiny black lens was tucked near a carved wall fixture, angled with too much purpose to be dismissed as a mistake. Catherine stopped so suddenly that the air around her seemed to tighten. Her shock did not come loudly. It moved through her in silence first, then hardened into controlled fear. William noticed before she said a word. The prince watched her face change, stepped closer, and understood from her stillness that something sacred had been crossed. Catherine pointed once, and that was all. William followed her gaze, and the future king's expression turned cold in a way that made the nearest aide lower his eyes. A senior aide was immediately called forward, one of the household officials trusted to manage private royal spaces and protect restricted access. His hands trembled as he removed the device. A hidden camera in that corridor did not simply threaten privacy. It threatened private conversations, family movements, and the quiet moments no royal statement could ever repair. The device came free, small enough to hide, yet powerful enough to destroy trust. Catherine looked at it without speaking. William kept his body angled near hers, protective but controlled, while the aide placed the camera into a sealed pouch and waited for orders that no one seemed ready to give. No one needed to say what they were all thinking. If it had been active, then someone may have been listening before anyone even knew they were being watched. King Charles was told within minutes, and he did not react with confusion. Instead, he grew entirely still. That stillness frightened the room more than anger would have, because it suggested memory, warning, and a secret already waiting beneath the surface. As Catherine stood in that guarded corridor, the question was no longer just who found the camera. It was who had been watching. A crisis inside the monarchy is never just about the object discovered. It is about the people standing around it, the faces that change, the words left unspoken, and the loyalties suddenly placed under pressure. Catherine had found the device, but William, Charles, Camilla, and the trusted aides around them all understood something much darker. Privacy had been broken, and someone close enough knew exactly where to look. Catherine became the center of the storm because her eyes had found what every guard had missed, because the hidden camera sat inside Balmoral's private wing. Catherine knew that if such a device could appear there, then nowhere inside the old royal walls felt fully safe anymore. William stepped into the crisis beside her, not only as a husband, but as the future king. The person expected one day to protect the family and the institution at the same time. The prince looked at the sealed pouch on the table, then at Catherine, and his silence became sharper than any outburst. He wanted answers and he wanted names, but he also knew anger could make the room careless, and careless words could be used against them. Catherine refused to break. Her hands tightened around the edge of a chair, but her voice stayed calm as she asked who had last entered the corridor. That small control made the moment even heavier. She felt violated, yet she would not give anyone the satisfaction of seeing fear take over. William noticed the tension in her hands, and the prince's jaw hardened before he gave one quiet order: clear the room. Charles entered later, and everything changed again. The king studied the device without touching it, and his expression showed pure dread. That dread carried memory, and in that instant, Catherine understood that this breach may have touched warnings already whispered behind closed doors. Charles asked for the internal access list, the record showing who had permission to enter restricted spaces, and the room grew colder. Camilla reacted the moment that list was mentioned. The queen consort straightened, defensive before anyone accused her of anything, and her voice carried a sharp edge when she asked why her household was being pulled into it. Charles looked at her once, then looked away. William said nothing, but the silence between him and Camilla became its own accusation as the trusted aides lowered their eyes, sensing a severe divide forming in the room. Then the private security log arrived. Only a small group had access to that corridor before Catherine made the discovery. Not dozens, not strangers. A tiny, exclusive circle. That truth changed the crisis completely, because the access list did not create the danger by itself. The real danger began weeks earlier, during one specific moment everyone had tried to forget. Every royal crisis has a beginning hidden beneath ceremony. This one began not with wires, lenses, or alarms, but with a dinner at Balmoral 3 weeks earlier that ended in cold silence. Catherine and William remembered it sharply, and Charles, seated at the head of the table that night, had seen enough tension in the room to know that something inside the family had shifted forever. The family had gathered to discuss future household access and security limits, meaning who could enter private royal spaces when they could enter, and under whose permission. Because if access inside Balmoral's private wing became loose, then private family life could be exposed from the inside. Catherine had raised the first question with care, asking why certain private wing movements were appearing in advance on internal schedules before senior family members had even confirmed them. William looked toward her and then toward the others because he understood the danger at once. If movements were being listed too early, someone could know exactly who would be in the corridor, who would be alone, and when the safest parts of the estate were most open. Camilla took the question like a personal strike. The queen consort's face tightened, and she pushed back with visible irritation, saying Catherine's concern sounded less like caution and more like suspicion. Catherine did not raise her voice. She simply repeated that privacy was not a luxury for the family, but a line of protection. That calm answer only sharpened the mood because Camilla heard an accusation even where Catherine offered a warning. William defended Catherine with dangerous restraint. The prince did not attack Camilla, but he made it clear that his wife had every right to ask who was tracking private movement inside a protected wing. Charles listened from the head of the table, seeing the split before anyone named it. William was drawing a boundary around his family, and everyone in that room felt it. Then came the trigger that no one later wanted to admit. After that bitter dinner dispute, someone ordered an unofficial security review, a private check outside the normal chain of approval. That rogue order opened the door to the hidden camera placement. A junior aide later admitted in a recorded internal statement that an outside technician had entered the wing under the excuse of checking alarm sensors. Catherine connected that night to the camera the moment the device was found. The discovery stopped being a mere security breach and became something deeply personal, leading directly to a confrontation that the palace could not avoid. Palace officials could survive rumors and headlines, but they could not survive a family confrontation where every face carried a different version of the truth. Catherine entered the private sitting room first, quiet but unshaken, followed by William with restrained fury. Charles waited near the desk, already burdened by what he knew, and when Camilla arrived, the air completely changed. Charles had summoned them with no junior staff present, which told everyone how dangerous the moment had become. The hidden camera sat inside a sealed evidence pouch on the desk, turning suspicion into something physical that no one could dismiss. Catherine looked at Camilla first, her voice low but heavy, stating that the private wing was meant to protect family dignity, not expose it. The queen consort held Catherine's stare before looking toward Charles as if waiting for him to soften the blow, but the king did not move. William stepped in before the silence could hide too much, asking who approved the outside technician. The question hit the room like a door slamming shut. Camilla insisted she had no knowledge of the device, her voice hardening in defense as she argued her household could not be treated as guilty because of one access entry. Neither Catherine nor William flinched, and Charles still refused to protect anyone with empty words. William opened the access log and read one line aloud. The record showed the technician entered the private wing under a clearance code tied directly to a senior household channel. The code was not random, and the technician had not wandered in by mistake. Someone had opened the way. Camilla's face changed. She claimed the channel could have been used by several people, but the sharpness in her tone betrayed how deeply the question had landed. Charles set his pen down slowly and declared he would not defend anyone until the full chain of approval was known. Not Camilla, not her staff, and not his own office. That sentence drained the room of its last comfort. Catherine stood up and exited silently, making her departure incredibly powerful, while William stayed behind to ask Charles what he intended to do. The monarch looked at the sealed pouch, and the silence finally gave way to royal authority. Charles had spent his life guarding the institution from scandal, but now the danger had moved inside the walls. He ordered an immediate lockdown of Balmoral's private wing access records, freezing and reviewing every entry, approval, badge scan, and staff movement connected to the family-only area. Charles made it clear that no title, no friendship, no household loyalty, and no personal closeness would shield anyone from the formal internal inquiry. The king knew this order could embarrass people close to him, but doing nothing would wound Catherine deeper and leave William believing the palace protected comfort over truth. Camilla sat alone after the meeting, angry and shaken, realizing that if the investigation passed through her household staff, the shadow would reach her door. Then the first discovery arrived. The palace security team found that the hidden camera had never been connected to the main protection system. It had been placed outside normal channels, quietly and deliberately, to avoid detection. Furthermore, a private technician's badge had been activated for only 11 minutes. 11 minutes to enter, install, and leave behind a device that turned Balmoral's promise of privacy into a wound. Charles signed temporary suspensions immediately, stripping several staff members of their private wing access. By morning, Balmoral felt like a house holding its breath. Access cards were confiscated from senior household staff and placed under review. William moved through the morning with cold focus, refusing comfort because it would not answer the only question burning inside him. Had Catherine and the children ever been placed at risk? Security teams began reviewing previous private visits to see if private family talks, personal worries, and quiet family hours had been exposed. Catherine felt sadness more than fear, thinking of the intimate moments William had tried to shield from royal pressure. The loss felt entirely unforgivable. During questioning, one aide broke, admitting in a recorded internal interview that the outside technician's visit had been described to him as urgent but discreet, suggesting someone wanted the work done quickly and secretly without drawing attention. Worse yet, the camera's angle faced a corridor used right before private family discussions, where people typically lowered their voices. Following this, Catherine and William shared a vital conversation alone in a private room, stripped of ceremony. Catherine expressed the deep violation of feeling watched in a place meant to be a family refuge for their children. William absorbed her words and promised that their children would not enter that wing again until every answer was secured, deciding that tradition would not come before safety. Catherine then made her own decision. She would not allow the crisis to be buried behind soft royal language or handled like a quiet staff matter. William agreed to support a full internal reckoning, even if it strained the family and exposed uncomfortable loyalties. They took their position back to Charles, forcing the king to choose between protecting surface peace or facing the consequences beneath it. When the story inevitably reached the outside world, it landed like a national shock. A hidden camera inside Balmoral's private wing felt invasive and unthinkable. Palace officials released a controlled statement confirming a serious security breach inside the restricted area, which was a massive admission for a monarchy that rarely acknowledges internal danger. Catherine was described by supporters as dignified but deeply hurt, becoming the human face of the crisis through her composure. Charles felt the weight of public disappointment immediately, knowing the monarchy could not ask the public to trust its strength if it could not protect its own family behind locked doors. The crisis reached a boiling point when a major London newspaper printed a photo of Balmoral's gates beneath the headline, "Who watched the Windsors?" Crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace in stunned curiosity, while broadcasters framed the breach as a defining test of royal trust. The public pressure forced the monarchy toward one final, definitive decision. Charles delivered the final decision privately, announcing that Balmoral's private wing access structure would be rebuilt from the ground up, entirely abolishing the old system of informal permissions and favors. Catherine received the decision with quiet relief, wanting safety rather than revenge, recognizing that Charles had finally chosen action over comfort. William stood beside her, his resolve unyielding, as a stricter royal security chain replaced every informal clearance channel connected to the breach. Camilla accepted her part with visible pain. Her household would face a deeper review, and Charles made it clear that innocence did not cancel responsibility. The king's verdict ensured that the hidden camera would not be buried as a minor mistake, but remembered as the day accountability defeated comfort, proving that the crown survives only when trust is defended. Ultimately, this shocking security breach has rewritten the rules of privacy and trust within the royal family, forever altering life inside Balmoral's walls. What do you think was the true motive behind placing a hidden camera in the royal family's private wing? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay informed on this unfolding palace crisis, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.